Echoes of madness. The old asylum stood atop the hill like a silent sentinel, its crumbling facade a testament to the horrors that had unfolded within its walls. For decades, the building had been abandoned, its halls echoing with the anguished cries of the forgotten souls who had once been confined there. But despite its derelict appearance, the asylum still held a dark allure, drawing thrill-seekers and ghost hunters alike to its decaying corridors in search of the paranormal. Among them was a group of friends Mark, Sarah, Alex, and Emily who had heard the legends of the asylum and decided to investigate for themselves. As they approached the imposing building, a sense of unease washed over them, but they pushed their fears aside, eager to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within its walls. Armed with flashlights and cameras, they ventured inside, the air thick with the scent of decay and despair. The asylum was like a labyrinth, its corridors twisting and turning in on themselves, leading deeper into the heart of darkness. Strange symbols adorned the walls, their meaning lost to time, and the sound of their footsteps echoed loudly in the empty halls. But as they explored further, they began to sense that they were not alone. Shadows seemed to dance in the corners of their vision, and strange whispers filled the air, taunting and tormenting them with promises of unspeakable horrors. Determined to uncover the truth, the group pressed on, their hearts pounding in their chests as they ventured deeper into the asylum's depths. But no matter how far they went, they found no sign of the spirits that were said to haunt the building. Just as they were about to give up hope, they stumbled upon a hidden staircase concealed behind a crumbling wall. With a sense of trepidation, they descended into the darkness, their flashlights cutting through the gloom like beacons of hope in the night. As they reached the bottom of the stairs, they found themselves standing in a vast chamber, its walls adorned with faded murals and strange symbols that seemed to writhe and twist in the dim light. But it was what lay at the center of the chamber that sent a chill down their spines: a massive stone altar, its surface stained with dried blood and surrounded by candles that flickered ominously in the darkness. With a sense of mounting dread, the group approached the altar, their senses on high alert as they searched for any sign of the supernatural. But just as they were about to turn back, they heard a faint whispering sound that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. Their hearts pounding in their chests, they followed the sound, their footsteps echoing loudly in the chamber as they searched for its source. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the whispering stopped, leaving behind an eerie silence that was almost deafening in its intensity. With a sense of foreboding, the group turned to leave, their minds reeling with the horrors they had witnessed. But as they made their way back to the staircase, they realized with horror that they were not alone. Standing before them was a figure clad in tattered robes, its face hidden in the shadows as it advanced upon them with an otherworldly grace. With a collective cry of terror, the group turned and fled, their footsteps echoing loudly in the chamber as they raced toward the safety of the outside world. But no matter how fast they ran, the figure was relentless in its pursuit, its unearthly wail echoing in their ears as it chased them through the darkness. And just when they thought they could run no further, they burst through the doors of the asylum and into the cool night air, their hearts pounding in their chests as they collapsed onto the ground in exhaustion. As they lay there, gasping for breath, they knew that they had narrowly escaped the clutches of the haunted asylum. But as they looked back at the imposing building looming in the distance, they couldn't shake the feeling that the true horror had only just begun. Despite their narrow escape from the asylum, the group couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that had settled over them like a thick fog. As they caught their breath, they exchanged uneasy glances, their minds reeling from the horrors they had witnessed within those decaying walls. "We have to get out of here," Sarah said, her voice trembling with fear. "We should never have come to this place." Mark nodded in agreement, his hands shaking as he pushed himself to his feet. "She's right. We need to leave now, before it's too late." But as they turned to make their escape, they realized with horror that they were not alone. Standing before them, blocking their path, was the figure they had encountered in the asylum, a specter clad in tattered robes, its face hidden in the shadows. With a collective cry of terror, the group backed away, their hearts pounding in their chests as they searched for a way to escape. But the figure seemed to glide effortlessly toward them, its movements unnaturally fluid as it advanced upon them with an otherworldly grace. With nowhere left to run, the group huddled together, their backs pressed against the cold stone wall of the asylum. They watched in horror as the figure drew closer, its presence filling the air with a palpable sense of dread. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure stopped, its form flickering in and out of existence like a shadow in the moonlight. With a guttural moan, it reached out toward them, its skeletal fingers inches from their faces. But before it could make contact, a blinding light erupted from the sky, bathing the clearing in an otherworldly glow. With a deafening roar, the figure let out a piercing scream, its form dissolving into nothingness as it was consumed by the light. For a moment, the group stood frozen in place, their minds struggling to comprehend what had just happened. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the light vanished, leaving behind nothing but the sound of their ragged breathing and the faint rustling of leaves in the wind. "We have to get out of here," Alex said, his voice trembling with fear. "We can't stay in this place any longer." With a sense of urgency, the group made their way back through the woods, their footsteps echoing loudly in the silence of the night. But even as they put distance between themselves and the asylum, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something malevolent lingered in the shadows, waiting to claim them. As they emerged from the woods and into the cool night air, they realized with a sense of relief that they had escaped the clutches of the haunted asylum. But as they looked back at the imposing building looming in the distance, they knew that their ordeal was far from over. For in the heart of those shadowed woods, something ancient and malevolent lurked, something that hungered for their souls and would stop at nothing to claim them. And as they made their way back to civilization, they knew that they would never truly be free from the echoes of madness that haunted their every step. As the group stumbled out of the woods, they were greeted by the harsh glow of streetlights and the distant hum of civilization. But even as they breathed a sigh of relief at their escape from the haunted asylum, they couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister lingered in the air around them. "We need to find somewhere safe to hide," Emily said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "We can't risk whatever that thing was finding us again." Agreeing with her, the group quickly made their way to a nearby motel, their hearts still racing from their encounter in the woods. As they huddled together in the dimly lit room, they tried to make sense of the horrors they had witnessed, but their minds were clouded with fear and confusion. "What do you think that thing was?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "I don't know," Mark replied, his brow furrowed with worry. "But whatever it wasn't human. It was something far older and far more sinister." As they spoke, a sense of unease settled over the group, as if the very air around them was alive with malevolent energy. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the room was filled with the sound of whispers, echoing softly in the darkness like the murmurs of the dead. With a sense of mounting dread, the group listened as the whispers grew louder, their words unintelligible yet filled with a sense of urgency. And then, just as suddenly as they had begun, the whispers stopped, leaving behind an eerie silence that was almost deafening in its intensity. "We need to leave this place," Alex said, his voice tinged with fear. "We can't stay here any longer." But as they moved to leave, they realized with horror that the door was no longer there. Instead, they were trapped in the room, their only escape cut off by some unseen force. Panic seized the group as they searched frantically for a way out, but no matter how hard they tried, the walls seemed to close in around them, suffocating them in their own fear. And then, just when they thought all hope was lost, a voice spoke from the darkness. "You have awakened the curse," it said, its words chilling them to the bone. "And now, you must pay the price." With a sense of mounting horror, the group realized that they had unleashed something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. The whispers grew louder, filling the room with their malevolent energy as the darkness closed in around them. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the room was filled with blinding light, bathing everything in its otherworldly glow. With a deafening roar, the walls crumbled away, revealing the true horror that lurked beyond. Standing before them was the figure they had encountered in the asylum, its form twisted and contorted with rage as it advanced upon them with an otherworldly grace. With a collective cry of terror, the group huddled together, their minds consumed by madness as they faced the full wrath of the curse they had unleashed.